Hey guys, today I thought I'd bring you into where I work, which is at the Hunter Wetlands here in Newcastle. I've got some friends here who I met in Sydney. This is Anna and Clara. And we're going to introduce you to some of the Aussie animals that I look after. Now, this is a blue-tongue lizard, and as you can see it has a blue tongue, which is where it gets its name from. So what can you tell us about the blue-tongue lizard, Will?
Very, very common. He lives around backyards. He's commonly found underneath sheds and verandas and around your veggie gardens, things like that. In the wild though, he's normally found rustling around the sticks and the leaves down in the forest floor. That's why he's named Russell, for the noise that he makes when he's rustling around. So this guy, he's actually a member of the skink family, so if he does get his tail bitten off, he's able to actually regrow that tail, whereas a lot of other lizards, if they get that bitten off, they can actually die and things like that. So he's a pretty special lizard, able to grow his tail back. They're what they call an opportunistic feeder, so he doesn't let too many opportunities for a feed go by. So if it looks tasty and it's going to fit in his mouth, he's usually going to have a bit of a nibble at it.
So, our next buddy is a little bearded dragon. Well, he's not so little, but he's smaller than the water dragon.
So these bearded dragons, they love lots of different type of insects. So they love eating crickets and cockroaches, all little different insects and bugs you find running around the ground. They also like to eat different types of plants, so they'll eat the leaves off the plants and even little berries and things like that.
How old do they get?
So these guys, they're going to get up to 15 to 20 years in captivity, so they're going to grow a lot longer. This guy's only about 3 or 4, so he's going to get a lot sort of fatter and longer as well, so up to about 60 centimetres fully grown. Yeah.
Where do they live?
So these guys, they're going to be living around sort of rocky outcrops and things like that, so where you find a little bit of shelter and protection from rocks and things like that, and also where it's nice and warm to hang around on the rocks. So reptiles love to sunbake and things like that. So they feel a lot like sandpaper when you're patting these guys, whereas the blue tongues, they're a lot smoother. So these guys have a lot rougher scales, and they all go in one direction, so they all go down his body. And that's so he can crawl along without hurting himself.
Thank you. Bye.
Wear them if you want, he'll just hang on to you, so they're nice.
I remember many times coming in here and trying to get that little fellow, and he's really cheeky. So I'll let Will get him today. All the turtles, look, the turtles are like, yeah.
This is our water dragon, this guy. Got really, really sharp claws, so he's really good at scratching.
Can you swim?
He's a very, very good swimmer. So this guy's a water dragon, so he's found in and around the water usually, so he's a very, very good swimmer. He's got a big crocodile tail, basically, lots and lots of muscle there to help him swim through the water. And if you feel him, he feels a lot different to some of your other types of lizards. If you've ever felt a shark, skin,
Okay, buddy, calm
this
down.
is what he feels like. So he's really, really streamlined through the water.
Soft.
Yeah, he's quite soft, yeah. He's about to shed his skin actually. So little bits of his skin are starting to come off there. And see how it's like it's losing colour there, so he's starting to shed his skin a little bit.
The other day when I was here, the snake shed its skin, one of the turtles had shed, and the blue tongues were shedding.
Yeah, so our turtles are really nice and shiny, and Basil the snake will be as well. So all reptiles will be shedding their skin when it comes time and they're growing. So our water dragon, he's on a diet at the moment, because if you have a look at his belly, he's quite large at the moment. So he's been eating a bit too much, so we've got to ease him off a bit. So where this guy likes to hang out is in and around the water. So he likes to hang out on tree branches and vines and things like that, just sitting above the water. What he'll do is he'll wrap those really, really long toes right around the branch and grip the sharp claws in, and then when he sways in the breeze, he's not going to fall out of the tree. And then if something does happen to come along though and scare him, he's nice and close to the water, so he'll just go plop straight into the water and hide from them. So when this guy's feeling scared or feeling like something's going to eat him, his best thing to do is get away as quickly as he can. So he's really, really quick. So he gets up on those back legs and almost looks like he's running just on water, but he is touching the ground. He's just really, really quick, and he'll head straight for the water and he'll jump in and head to the bottom, and when he finds a rock or something to hide under, he'll hold his breath for about an hour or so underwater. So he'll just hold his breath for a very, very long time, and whatever was chasing him or looking for him in the first place hopefully got bored of waiting after an hour and left him alone.
His name's Godzilla.
Yep.
And I think his name quite suits because he's caused this many an injury.
Yep, that's
getting
right.
him out.
Definitely right.
You've also pooed on me.
This guy, his record's probably about 4 in one shot.
You're doing well today, buddy. This is our little one, Tammy. But it's not actually a girl, the poor little fella.
So it's a bit hard to tell the boys and the girls with turtles until they get old enough. So they thought it was a little girl until she got a little bit older and then realised little Tammy is actually probably more a little Timmy.
You can see him nice there.
What does it eat?
This guy, so it's eating lots of different little fish and tadpoles and insects and things swimming around in the water. So you're only ever going to find your turtles in and around the water. So you might find them on the land every now and then. That's just because they're moving from one pond or one bit of water to the next. These guys, if you want to pet your whole life, then these are probably the ones to get because these guys are going to get up to about 100 years old. So 80 to 100 years old is a good age for our turtles, or our long-necked turtles.
I remember growing up in the country when we go to the dam, and sometimes it would be hard to tell if these little guys stuck their heads out, you wouldn't know if it was a snake or a turtle.
Yeah. Yep. So they do have a nickname called the snake-necked turtle, and that's because they've got a really, really long neck like a snake, and they curl it up a bit like a snake when they fold it in their shell there. So the other thing they get called, which isn't very nice, but it's actually old stinker.
Oh,
So,
is that what they do?
and that's because these turtles, when they get scared, they go in their shell and they hide away, but they do a similar thing to a skunk does. So they do a really, really, really bad smelling wee.
So what's the best thing to do if we find one of these in the street or
If you find one of these in the street, you want to help them out, and it looks like it's going to get hurt, things like that. The first thing you want to note to which way the turtle's actually going. Because if the turtle's crossing the road over that way and his head's pointing that way, you want to put him on that side of the road. Whereas if you put him over this side, you just doubled his chances. So
It's best to try and leave them where they are though, isn't it?
that's right. So unless you absolutely have to help the turtle, if it's on a road or something like that, then it might be okay to help the turtle if you're not going to get hurt. But if it's okay to do so, then you're probably best just leaving the turtle where it is.
You can see his little web feet down there.
Webbed feet, just like a duck.
And that's with their strong little swimming.
So if you look at a tortoise's foot, it'll be more a bit like an elephant's foot, like a stump. Whereas if you look at turtles' feet, they've always got some sort of adaptation for swimming. So these guys have basically got built-in
Like he's trying to swim now.
Yeah. So if you put a tortoise in the water, it's not going to swim too well. It'll swim about as good as a rock will, really. So.
Could it live without the shell? Or is it stuck to its back?
No, so they're stuck with their backbone all the way down the back there. So as the turtle grows, the turtle's shell grows with it. So if you look at Tammy's shell, it's really, really nice and black and shiny. That's because she's recently shed her shell, so she's been growing a little bit. So they don't shed it all as one big thing, they just flake off a little bit here and there, sort of little tiles on the back of their shell. If you look at their little plates or tiles they call them, then they just flake off sort of randomly, and over time they'll flake them all off and they'll have a brand new shell, which is a little bit bigger and a lot nicer and shiny and black compared to their old one.